So this is the first steps of setting up your Komatsu GPS grader with the topcon. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're first going to look at your wheels here. You're going to make sure that your wheels get completely lined up with your chalk marks. So you want to make sure that's chalked up. Turn your wheels just a little bit more. So he's lining that hole up right there as closely as he can. Then in the operator cab, you want to make sure that your blade is sitting exactly 90 degrees off of your frame here. 90 degrees. You're going to make sure that these chalk marks, you can see on your, it's kind of hard to see because it's black, but there is some chalk marks right here that run like this on this to make sure you're square with your table. You want to make sure they're even. You want to make sure that your blade is exactly equal on both sides and that your hydraulic rams are sticking straight up as square as possible to each other. You also want to make sure that your pin, you can put your pin in for this, but if you have it lined up, you're going to be okay. So as you crawl up in the cab here, this is what it should look like. Your hydraulic rams should be as straight up as possible, like that. And your antenna, you also want your antenna as square as possible too, okay, on your blade. So once you have all that done, let's turn all this on here, and we can get into setting up the GPS and the project here. What's that?
Turn that off when you're done.
Oh yeah.
That'll kill the battery.
Okay.
Right now.
So we need to make sure we turn this off every time we turn off our machine, or it'll kill the battery. It'll stay on. Okay, we'll get into our windows, into our Pocket 3D. Setting up dual antenna. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we're on the existing project at Roosevelt. So, okay, I'm going to zoom out of this just a little bit, make sure we're sitting okay. So you want to make sure this is green on both sides. Okay, and for this particular one, he can leave it at offset or whatever offset he wants. Okay, so this is what we do now. We want to make sure that both of these are reading green. So we're going to pick our blade up off the ground, and remember, you're going to maintain it equal. You're going to lift your blade up to about 6 inches off the ground so that it does not hit anything, and you want to make sure your masts are straight. Same with your hydraulic rams. Okay, John, so here's John, our operator. I'm going to have him pull forward. And what he's going to do is he's going to get in a spot where he can drive straight without turning his machine or anything at all on this grader. So go ahead and you're going to look for a spot that you can travel about 80 feet straight. So probably right over there. So he's got his chalk marks lined out on his machine. That's your first step. Turn on your system. Okay, now he's going to line this grader out as straight as possible without any dirt interfering with this blade at all. So, okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go up in here in the monitor, and we're going to go to control, and you're going to go to blade. It's called antenna alignment. Okay, so we're going to click on that, and it's going to have, what we're going to do is John's going to travel for about 20 feet, and then we're going to hit match while he's traveling. You're going to hit 0 and match while he's traveling, and it should zero it out. I think actually we don't even have to hit 0. I think we could just hit match. And then you continue on after hitting that for 20 feet, for another 20 feet. So you're gonna go around 40 to 50 feet. Okay, so as he's traveling straight here, we're gonna leave it in that system. And this should be done once, I would say probably once a day in the mornings. Okay, so we're gonna hit match while he's traveling forward. So what you're gonna see is these two numbers right here are gonna kind of come together. They're gonna be close to the same. And he's just gonna continue to drive. You can even do it a few times in here, but he's gonna just keep continuing going straight for about another 40 yards. Okay, I think that's good now, John. So then what he's gonna do is look right here, and these numbers are gonna be so close. They'll bounce back and forth between each other, but that's what you wanna see right there. You just hit okay. And now everything should be in, and he can turn on his automatics. One side, these toggles right here, this one right here will turn on his automatics for his 3D. This one right here will turn on his other side. So you can run these independently. So you can run one side of your GPS, and you can run one side manual, or you can run them both automatics by turning on your toggle on one side versus the other side. One side will control the tense up, tense down. The other ones will control slope on these little red buttons. So that's it really, and you set that. You want to make sure your offsets set at whatever elevation you need to be cutting, and it'll read it. I advise getting out and putting the blade on the ground. It's better to do it on a hard surface instead of soft dirt where it's like asphalt, and bring your rover pull over and set it right down at the very bottom of one blade. And then what you do to check that is I'm going to go to control, and you're going to go to blade control, and you're going to move this all the way over, drag this all the way over to the left side, and that you're going to hit OK. And what that will do is will give you an elevation. So if we come right here and we set this to 0, and we zero out everything, we hit OK, that's reading. I know that this number right here is reading, and we can kick our automatics off for this, and we're going to just float this side down to the ground. We're also going to float that one down to the ground. There's two ways you can do it. You can move your caret so that your GPS numbers right here are reading from this blade, and then you can do it from the other side and walk over and check it with the rover. Or you can also go into control, blade control, go to control, blade control, and do best fits whole blade. You can click on that and just center it out and do whole blade like that, and it'll actually just read the entire measurements of your blade from one end to the other, and hit OK. And then you can get that as well. But I like to do it individually on each ear to make sure that my GPS is, the grader, the cutting edges and everything are completely in line with your rover. And where I like to set that at is just in your offsets. If your blade's not quite matching up to your rover, you need to bring those numbers in right here so that they are matching. And what numbers I'm talking about matching is your foot. Your 1 foot cut, it needs to come up a fill of 1 foot 32. So that needs to match, and also your elevation above sea level needs to match. And so again, we can go in here, the blade, and so we're going to check this side, and we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to go into here. Okay, so one thing that I'm looking at right here is you've got your elevation left edge, elevation right edge, and so you get a helper stand out there with the rover reading off the elevations and making sure they're the same. And then you're going to want to adjust your offsets for whatever grade you're cutting to match the same for your cuts and fills. And that's it for your grader. There's nothing to it, and it'll run automatic on itself. And these Komatsus are slick little machines. I really like them.